I've been setting for 3 years now. It wasn't until college that I started to compete in climbing.
I'm more of a roper. I definitely prefer to rope. There's something really fluid about the ropes.
My sister had a boyfriend who was into rock climbing. He showed me some hangboards, and I instantly wanted to go to the climbing gym. Went one time and was super hooked.
I started as a boulder. I came in, I did the auto belays twice, and it was cool, but I didn't get that much satisfaction out of it. And then once I got into bouldering, it took off.
I've been setting for 3 years now. I love route setting. I love people that really take route setting seriously. The main thing is route setting isn't just a trade. It's not just an art. It's definitely a functional art. Like I would say it's very close to industrial art. When it comes to putting stuff on the wall and putting up different climbs, like there's a lot to be taught. There's a lot to be learned, and whether I'm climbing or I'm setting, like my mind just clears, it melts away, and I get really psyched. There's a big difference between like the person that just walks in and puts holds on a wall, and then an actual paid route setter tradesman. Number one, I view route setting as a trade profession with the different levels of certification and everything. I think nationwide there's a huge push for it to be seen as a trade. When it comes to putting holds on the wall, anybody can put holds on the wall. But what really qualifies a route setter as a good route setter versus a bad route setter is their attention to how the movements fit together, the safety behind it, and then whether it's appropriate for different sizes and shapes of people. Right? I use tracking software to help ensure that the crew knows what needs to be put up, what we already have too much of, as well as what we're taking down. So it allows us to bridge the gap between what we want to do, what we see needs to be done, and then using that statistical analysis, seeing what actually needs to be done as well. And it helps us keep track of making sure that every single demographic of our gym is totally served. What do I look for specifically in route setters? So I definitely look for that attention to detail. I definitely look for that ability to not just physically be able to do a move, but understand why the move works and understand how to take the move and put it back on the wall in a different thing.
Nate will tell you exactly what he wants. Everything is crystal clear. There's nothing unclear about working here. That's one thing that I'm really appreciative of, just because I come from, like I said, a really informal setting background, so I know that I have a ton to learn here, and that's kind of the mindset that I came into it with. Just mostly, what do you want of me? How can I accomplish the thing that you need? And then also be creative in my own right. That is the challenge of route setting, because how do you not set the same move over and over, your favorite move? Like right now, I'm just this phase of just setting crosses, infinite crosses, because I love them. So it's really easy to fall into like a move like that, especially when climbing takes a backseat to setting, and you're just setting all the time, and you're not climbing as much, and you're exhausted from setting, and you climb, and you don't climb. You lose a lot of inspiration because you lose touch a little bit with the moves. So I found that the really important thing is just to climb all different things, all different grades. Grades that you're good at, grades that you're bad at, styles that you hate, styles that you love, and definitely being outdoors brings a lot of inspiration. I know every time I come back from a trip, that's when I want to set. I'm like, oh my God, I just want everyone to feel the way I felt when I climbed this boulder, when I climbed this rope,
When it's season in the southeast, which is a short period, maybe like 3 or 4 months, I'll go outside maybe every other weekend or at least once a month. So fairly often for someone who climbs in Florida, but during the summer I usually take a trip too. I went to Colorado a couple times. So my route setting, it helps me understand movement a little bit differently. Outside, it's kind of, there's like not really any limits, like things can be really far apart or holds can be really bad, and you have to be kind of creative to get up the problems. So I'd say it makes me understand movement a little better and helps me kind of take moves that I've done from outside and put them in the gym as best as I can.
we're strongly encouraging people to go outdoors. Anytime you talk to any of our staff, we're always advocating to go to different places. We're huge opponents of vanity grades, where people are climbing and they get this like feel, it's like, oh man, I just got that V6. Well, I mean, if you went outside, there's no way in heck that would be a V6.
I think the ratings we have are very good for outdoor grades. We want people to go outside and expect to climb it the same way that they do in the gym. So we don't try to boost any egos. We just want people to feel good about how hard they climb in the gym, and that they can carry that on outside into the real rock as well. I want my routes to be a pretty good physical test of all-around strength, and I don't want to try to make the routes set for any one particular style, so no one really has a true advantage throughout the whole route. I want someone to have trouble down low. I want someone to have trouble up top, and I want someone to have trouble, anywhere in between there. That way it's hard for everyone and not just one type of person.
It's like really interesting the way that you have to think about like everything that you put up for your problems. Like the hands, they have to be like turned a very certain way, like to keep the grade and the movement that you want.
It's definitely it's a long process. It takes a lot out of you, a lot more than I ever expected.
Depending on what section or how much we're setting, will come anywhere from like 9-ish to 10-ish a.m. And then pretty much everyone chooses their colors they want to use, everyone chooses what section of the wall they're doing, and then everyone gets usually a grade assigned to them. It's usually like an easy one, a medium one, and a hard one. And then you got to decide, do you want to do the easy one first? Do you want to do the hard one first and get all the work out of the way? There's a little bit of planning, but usually it's fairly abstract. You choose the types of moves you're going for, choose the holds you want to get to do those moves, and then figure out the rest of it.
We have a lot more setters now, which means we have a lot more style of routes. And I think it's just an all-around improvement for every aspect at the gym.
The more varied climbing that we can set, the more prepared people are going to be when they go outdoors.
I do like that it's diversified, because now there's a little bit more for me and for the ladies, and just generally because that's who tends to be smaller and more flexible. I think it's just more welcoming, and it's a wider range, and it's interesting too, because it's a little more like being outside, because you really can't predict what a rock formation is going to be, and no one set the rock formation. You can't blame anyone for the setting. You just kind of accept it for what it is, and if it's not your style, it's not your style.
There's basic physiological differences that I think favor certain movement over others.
I don't really think about climbing in terms of like men, like male and female climbers. Like when I'm climbing, I don't ever try to climb something and be like, oh, that's like really manly. I'm just like, it's just a burly move. If I can't do a move, then it just means I need to get stronger.
It's just a growing sport for all individuals. I think it was definitely a very male-dominated sport from its beginnings. So just as the sport grows, as with the entire world essentially, females grow into it and fight their way into it. So I think it is really important to have female setters. We understand how females climb, the female style, what's preferred for the female body in terms of movement. And I know that's what Nate said to me, and as I've been hired on, is you understand how girls climb. Great, we need that.
I think the main thing that I would say for anybody that's looking to get into it is definitely keep that psych. There's gonna be a lot of people that'll be like, no, I don't need you. There's also gonna be a lot of people that are like, dude, you're psyched, I want that, like, come on. The one thing that I've learned more than anything else is the more psyched you are, and the more persistent you are, and the more that you show that you're willing to do whatever it takes, the more doors will open, the more opportunities you'll have for that. And I think that's not just for setting, that can be said for anything. But showing that willingness to go the extra mile and being, kind and talkative to other professionals in the industry, like that's what gets you out there. That's what gets people to know that you're around and that you're willing to do whatever it takes. And that goes a very long way. So.
Hashtag Gabo doing things, look me up on Instagram. Actually, please don't.
Firmly grasp it.
Actually, you know what? scratch that. The White Walkers are gonna kill everybody.
So close to my face.
Exactly.
But I definitely like to get more practice setting the lower grade routes.
Lower grade meaning?
6 and under. I would really appreciate 6 and under.
How uncomfortable does this make you?
Now, when I come on. You know I come on, Ryan. Stay tight, stay tight. Come on, you got it. Come on. Captain of the poets, I'm the number 7 pick. Licks, boy, on your backside. Licks, boy, on your backside. Listen to the fader shot, heat, let's it glide.